So with this scan brought into Tekla, we noticed that there were some differences in the existing framing and also some differences in alignment, um, specifically related to this area down here. Now, this isn't the only place we noticed it, but it's kind of one of the most noticeable or egregious places. We have a little stub beam supported instead of a full continuous beam across. Um, I did flip this into a plan view just by hitting Control P so I could get another look at it. Here we can see there's a not just that framing is not matching, but also it's misaligned quite a bit. We did check up at the other end just to see, maybe it was a scan issue, but that all seems to be corrected up at that side. So focusing down on this, let me just pull a couple of quick measurements. Let's see here. So looks about 2 3/4 here. Let's get the edge of that flange. 2 5/8. Let's check the other side. I expect it to all be pretty similar, so we'll grab it to about there. 2 3/4 in the Y. So, I'm going to go ahead and shift that steel down 2 3/4 inches. So a couple different ways we could do this. For simplicity's sake, I'm probably just going to try to grab everything that we see there, hold down the Alt key, and drag back across again. Now when I drag from left to right, what it's going to do is grab all of the end handles that are in there of those selected parts. So that'll be the columns, the beams, the bolts, the plates, all that good stuff. And just to keep it kind of simple for the time being, I could always fine tune it later. Just going to run a move command and then say, let's move it down, 2.75 inches, because that seems to be a common dimension I was finding there. So we'll give that a second to update. Okay, so it did take a second because there were some components inside of it that needed to be updated. But now we're getting a little closer. It looks like that existing column is actually wider flange, so you may want to swap that out for a different size if you're trying to match an existing. But it looks like this cross beam is now fitting a little bit better, and the depth of the column is fitting a little bit better. So, all right, so now what I would do, because this cross beam here doesn't actually exist. If we go ahead and rotate this again, it looks like it stops here and then stops here. So I'm not quite sure how you're going to want to finish off this framing, as there's nothing to support these beams anymore because there's no actual beam there. But if I wanted to make the existing model or make the model match the existing a little bit better, what I can do is run a split command on this beam. Now it is going to delete the joints when I do this, or when I delete it out, so I'm just going to do a split. I'm going to grab that beam, align it with the end of that cloud, and break it. And we'll do the same thing over here. Click on that, align with the end of that cloud. We zoom in a little bit closer. It's going to be a little finicky. Well, we can always move it then and break that. So there's that existing beam that I'm going to go ahead and delete out. Again, that's going to delete the joints with it. So however you decide to put this new framing back together, I'm not quite sure what your plan would be. But there is also this existing beam supporting this stub, so I'm going to want to go ahead and recreate that. It looks like this beam here, the existing beam that you have modeled in, if I check it, it's got a top of steel of 14.5. So I did go into the view list. I did not see a view at 14.5, so what I would probably do is create like a temporary view. You could always actually make a new view at 14.5, but I'll make a temporary view, go to new view, choose on plane, so that I can just pick on the top of this little stub beam here, and it'll make me a new view there. The clouds are enabled per view, so I just go back over to my cloud pane, pop open that little eyeball there so I can actually see where things are. And then I can just double click on that beam to steal its properties. So I'm going to double click existing beam S8 by 54.7, activate the beam tool. And because I'm in this view that's based on the top of the other beam, I should be able to come in here and just pick 2 points. Now again, I'm going to throw it in. We can always fine tune its adjustment later. We're just going to select perpendicular and snap it to the center here. It looks like I did pick it a little bit off to the left. So let's go ahead and scoot that over a bit. Turn my snaps back on. And we'll go over, let me see, about 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, so we'll just aim over 3/8. Something like that there. Now, if you wanted to go in and put the existing connection, we could. Regular Tekla joint would work there. But again, not quite sure how you want to finish off this framing, but that's how I would be making these minor adjustments to make sure that my model actually matched the existing structure.